Within anime discourse, Osamu Tezuka is credited with forming the basis of what we in the West would come to understand as anime, using limited animation for his 1963 anime Astro Boy. While Astro Boy would go on to be the basis of a constantly evolving medium for the next 60 years, animation within Japan already had a rich history spanning back to at least the late 1910s. In March of 2017, the National Film Center of Japan uploaded 64 Japanese animations dating between 1917 and 1941. Of those, 22 are directed by a Mr. Yasuji Murata. Murata has largely been forgotten today, even though his animations were revolutionary and still able to be enjoyed to this day due to the National Film Center's restoration of the films and the sheer quality of what he was able to produce. The most important aspect to Murata's work is that they were all done with a cutout style. None of his works were cel animated, but instead layers of paper were put on top of each other and replaced in a manner similar to stop motion in order to give the perception of animation. What makes Yasuji Murata's cutout style so important is that they are done with such meticulous care that one could be mistaken for thinking that they were cel animation. The biography for him on the National Film Center's page mentions that audiences often mistook it for cel animation, which speaks to the level of quality and craftsmanship that Murata put into every film of his. For example, on screen now is a cutout animation from 1926 titled The Burglars of Baghdad Castle by Noboru Ofuji. I think that this is a great film and one of the best from the website, but this is the work that Yasuji Murata would create 2 years later with his 1928 film The Animal Olympics. Yasuji Murata's work outshined his contemporaries and did so even when others were moving on to cel animation. If you have heard of Yasuji Murata before this, it's probably due to his work with propaganda leading up to and during World War II. Murata would see the most success of his career with 1931's Momotaro in the Sky and 1932's Momotaro Under the Sea. Momotaro in the Sky would be released at the same time as the Manchurian incident was going on, and Momotaro Under the Sea would go alongside the Shanghai incident. To further illustrate this, in the description for Momotaro in the Sky, it informs the audience that the plane Momotaro uses in the film is the Nakajima Army Type 91 fighter, which was being used by the Japanese army at the time. It also tells us that the eagle Momotaro defeats in the film is representative of the United States. Whilst the film is layered with pro-Japanese sentiment, the actual animation quality of the film is possibly one of Murata's best. The short is filled with dynamic angles, fight scenes, and animal animation, which would become a staple of Murata's animation. Another set of animal-based propaganda directed by Murata would be Private Norakuro and Corporal Norakuro. These animations would have a more overt pro-war and pro-military message than Momotaro. These animations would still follow in the cutout style Murata is known for. Besides propaganda pieces and animal animations before the war, Murata also did some educational animations, specifically on electrical telegraphy, electric bells, and telephones, whilst also having another one about the development of trains. I say that Murata is a great director that time forgot, because his animation style is unique and recognizable. No film that was released around the same time looked anything like a Yasuji Murata film. I also say that because his cutout animation style is leagues above what anyone else would make for possibly the next decade or so, when cel animation was starting to pick up. After World War II, Yasuji Murata joined a company that was formed by another early animation director, Sana Yamamoto. This company would end up merging with another and form the basis of Toei Doga, the same company that gave Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata their starts. Murata died in 1966, and I wonder if he ever got to see Astro Boy before he died. Seeing animation in Japan lean more and more towards cel animation. I wonder if he knew how impressively crafted his cutout animations were, and that the art form would seemingly disappear after his death. Yasuji Murata is without question one of the greatest anime directors from Japan, and the best director of the late 20s and 30s. I have included links not only to the English biography of him by the National Film Center, which contains links to English subtitled versions of his films, but also a link to the full list of films archived on the site. I want to see more people care about the seeming oddity that was Murata's cutout style, and I hope that what's been shown on screen has convinced you to properly view his work. Murata is a name that needs to be brought up more as one of the greats of all time, and I intend to remember him as one. I've been Kazimoto. Subscribe and follow me on Twitter, as well as share my 12 days of anime content around. Adios.